Y'all are not going to believe what just went down in Bogotá, Colombia. I'm talking chaos, betrayal, and a cancellation that's got fans pointing fingers in every direction. And guess who's in the middle of all this smoke? Kendrick Lamar. Yeah, Mr. We Gone, be all right, might not be so all right after this one. What was supposed to be a historic night? Kendrick Lamar's first ever headline show in Bogotá turned into an absolute nightmare. Fans had flown in from all over South America. VIP sections sold out in seconds. But just hours before he was set to hit the stage, boom, canceled. No warning. No explanation. And the streets. They were hot. Now at first it looked like a simple technical issue. But baby, once the tea started spilling, it was clear there's way more going on. We're talking backstage sabotage, local promoter beef, a secret altercation, and even whispers of an international warrant tied to one of Kendrick's own crew members. Sources close to the show say Kendrick didn't even want to leave the venue, but he was forced to, and get this, his team is pointing fingers at someone who was supposed to be family. Chili. Grab your popcorn. This is way deeper than a canceled concert, so let's rewind. September 25th, 2025. Kendrick Lamar lands in Bogotá, Colombia, 3 days before his sold-out stadium show at El Campín. Fans are camping outside the arena with homemade signs, painting murals, and playing his songs on Bluetooth speakers in the streets. For many of them, this was a once-in-a-lifetime event. It wasn't just a concert, it was a moment in history. Kendrick had never performed a full solo show in Colombia, ever. But behind the scenes, things were already rocky. Sources say from the moment Kendrick's team touched down, there was tension between his camp and the local Colombian promoters. Apparently, some contractual agreements weren't being honored. There were issues with stage setup, security accommodations, and even rumors that part of the venue wasn't up to the safety codes that had been promised. Kendrick's longtime manager, known only as Dave in the circles, allegedly got into a shouting match with the lead local promoter, a man named Santiago Torres, right in the hotel lobby. If these conditions aren't met, we're pulling out, Dave was heard yelling. According to a hotel employee who asked not to be named, but here's where it gets messier. Fans were already arriving in the city in waves, buying merch, spending on flights, food, and hotels. Canceling the show would have caused a full-blown riot, and everyone knew it. So instead of calling it off, both teams went into overdrive trying to patch things up. That's when things took a darker turn. 2 days before the concert, an anonymous social media page began leaking documents, real paperwork, allegedly showing internal conflicts between Kendrick's camp and the organizers. It hinted that someone from Kendrick's own crew was feeding information to outside parties. The posts were cryptic, using old photos and voice recordings that fans started decoding like it was some kind of rap conspiracy thriller. Hashtags like #Kendrick, CANCELA do, and #Lamar Betrayed started trending across Latin America. Then came the video. On the morning of September 27th, a video surfaced online showing what appeared to be Kendrick Lamar arguing with someone backstage during a private rehearsal. The video was blurry, shaky, and only lasted 10 seconds. But you could clearly hear a voice yelling, "You set us up, bro. You knew this wasn't going to work." Fans immediately began speculating. Who was he talking to? Was it about the venue? Was someone trying to sabotage Kendrick? And then there was the mystery man in the footage, Taz. This is where it gets real wild. Several people pointed out a tall man in the background wearing a black hoodie and speaking into a headset. He didn't appear to be part of Kendrick's usual touring crew. In fact, some online sleuths claimed he was connected to a known Colombian businessman with alleged ties to, wait for it, underground concerts, scalping rings, and event laundering. So now you got this layered situation. A venue possibly not up to code, a promoter beefing with the artist's team, confidential documents leaking, and now a random figure in the mix with a questionable background. Oh, and don't forget the fans, the ones spending their savings to be there, still completely in the dark about what's going on by the night of September 27th. Kendrick had gone radio silent. No posts, no stories. Nothing from Pidgey Long. Not even a teaser for the show. People started getting nervous, but some of the dancers and stage crew, they were still rehearsing, which made fans believe the show was still on. But then, boom. The next morning, chaos. Around 11 a.m. local time on September 28th, the same day. As the show, a leaked email thread between PGLANG's security director and local law enforcement hit social media. In it, the security team expressed serious concerns about the safety of the event. They warned that a credible threat had been made to one of the performers and that they could not guarantee safety without a full evacuation protocol in place. But here's the gag. Local police denied ever receiving that threat. Within an hour, a spokesperson for the Bogotá Metropolitan Police released a statement, saying they had no record of any formal threat or danger associated with the event. Now, the internet was in flames. Was the threat real? Was it staged? Was it an excuse? By 1 p.m., fans began lining up at the venue gates anyway. Some had been waiting over 24 hours. Vendors were selling shirts. Kids were painting lyrics on their faces. Security started letting VIPs through bag check. And then, at 4:47 p.m., just as soundcheck was supposedly wrapping up, a tweet went out from the official PG Long account due to unforeseen circumstances beyond our control. Tonight's performance in Bogotá has been canceled. Full refunds will be issued. We apologize to our fans. What followed was pure madness. Hundreds of people broke down crying outside the stadium. Fans were chanting his name, begging for an explanation. Some even tried climbing the outer fences, screaming, "This is a scam and we want our money back." Others were filming live streams trying to make sense of the mess. But the real storm was brewing backstage, according to two insiders who spoke on condition of anonymity. A full-on confrontation had broken out between Kendrick and a member of his own tour staff, someone he'd known for over 10 years. The accusation. Betrayal. One source claims Kendrick found out that this staffer, we'll call him Jay for now, had been secretly feeding updates and contract details to the rival promoter group. In exchange for a payout, allegedly, Jay believed the show was going to be shut down due to safety violations anyway, and figured he could cash in on the back end. When Kendrick confronted him, things got heated. One witness says Kendrick slammed a chair into the wall, yelling, "How could you do this to me? We came here for the people." The staffer allegedly denied everything at first, but then someone pulled out the receipts, literally. Digital transfers, audio messages, and a note with Jay's initials scribbled next to payout instructions. Fans are shocked. Betrayal from inside his own circle. People are saying Kendrick looked absolutely broken. One crew member said he had tears in his eyes, pacing back and forth, muttering, "I should have known. I should have known." And remember that unknown man from the blurry video? Well, guess what? Someone finally identified him. And this is where part 2 kicks off. Because once his name dropped, everything spiraled into a bigger conspiracy than anyone expected. The man in the hoodie, the one who showed up in that blurry backstage video, his name is Leonel El Negro Valdez. Now, if you know Colombian underground entertainment circles, that name rings loud. Leonel isn't some random production assistant. Nah, he's a known fixer, and not the good kind. He's been loosely tied to a handful of shady concert cancellations, last-minute insurance claims, and even one case where an artist's jewelry mysteriously disappeared mid-tour stop in Cali. So, what was Leonel doing backstage at Kendrick Lamar's rehearsal? And why did he have access to a headset? This wasn't just some fan sneaking in. He had clearance, credentials, a role? And that's when people started asking the real question. Who gave him that access? Rumors started swirling fast. Some insiders whispered that Leonel had been brought in by the local promoters, allegedly as a logistics consultant. But others say that's just a cover-up. See, one source from the security team claims Leonel showed up out of nowhere 2 days before the show and immediately started asking too many questions about entry points, artist movement schedules, and even hotel floor plans by the time Kendrick realized who was lurking in the shadows of his own tour. It was already too late, and Jay, the staff member accused of betrayal, was allegedly the one who gave Lionel the green light. Supposedly, Jay vouched for him, saying he'd worked on other PHL-related events in South America. But that was cap. Lionel had never worked with Pagilong before. Kendrick's manager Dave was livid when he found out. One source says Dave grabbed Jay by the collar backstage and shouted, "You brought a snake into our house. You risked all of this." Emotions ran high. The family was left divided. Some crew members sided with Kendrick, saying Jay had broken an unspoken code of loyalty. Others said Jay was being scapegoated, that maybe he wasn't the one who let Lionel in. But when the digital receipts surfaced, including a wire transfer made from a burner account in Panama, linked to Lionel's suspicions turned into confirmations. Jay went silent. His phone was reportedly turned off. He left the venue before doors opened and hasn't been seen in public since, but just when it looked like the storm had peaked. Another twist dropped. An anonymous Colombian journalist leaked a partial audio clip of what appears to be a private conversation between Santiago Torres, the lead local promoter, and a third party. In the clip, Torres can be heard saying something about needing leverage over the Americans and putting pressure on Pagilong to take the insurance hit. Now, let's pause right there. The insurance hit. This is where things shift from just betrayal to a possible setup. See? When major artists tour internationally, they're insured against cancellations, natural disasters, even some forms of political unrest. If a show gets canceled for unforeseen incredible safety threats, the promoters and sometimes even artist management can collect on massive insurance payouts. We're talking hundreds of thousands, even millions. So if this show was intentionally sabotaged just to trigger the insurance clause, it would mean Kendrick was being used. His name, his presence, his audience, all part of someone else's payday. Fans are furious. One Colombian fan posted a tearful TikTok saying, "We welcomed him with love, and they treated him like a chess piece." This wasn't right. The video went viral, gaining over 4 million views in 24 hours. Meanwhile, Kendrick was reportedly holed up in a private villa just outside Bogotá, guarded by armed security, refusing to speak to the press. According to one close friend who flew in from the States, he felt played, like his mission was turned into a transaction. And you know how Kendrick is, he doesn't move for the money. He moves for meaning. But the chaos didn't stop at just the venue. Back in Los Angeles, Kendrick's family and inner circle were watching it all unfold in real time. His cousin Taylor, who occasionally tours with him, tweeted then deleted, "Funny how the devil always shows up in human form." Fans believe this was a subliminal aimed at J. Meanwhile, rumors started flying that Kendrick's fiancée, Whitney, had been urging him to cut ties with certain people in his circle for months. Allegedly, she wasn't feeling the direction some business decisions were headed in, especially after some earlier tour dates were plagued with logistical chaos and budget discrepancies. She always had a sixth sense, said one source close to the family. She told him not everybody was riding for him the way they claimed. Some fans even dug up old Pagilong promotional photos and began circling faces they hadn't seen before, speculating that newer team members might have been planted. By now, media outlets were all over the story. Some tried to downplay it, calling it a logistical failure. Others leaned all the way into the drama, using words like sabotage, espionage, and internal mutiny. But while the world was still trying to piece together what happened, Kendrick made a quiet, calculated move. The morning after the cancellation, he fired 3 long-standing members of his international tour team. No public statements. No shade. Just straight removal. Pagilong updated its internal roster, and those names were scrubbed clean. One of them, Jay, another, the assistant who booked the Colombian logistics, and the third, well, we'll get to that in because her involvement changes everything. As for Santiago Torres, the Colombian promoter, he vanished. Straight up disappeared. No press conferences. No refunds processed. The local office where his company was based had the windows papered over. Calls were going straight to voicemail. And fans who bought VIP packages from his site reported that their emails were bouncing. But just before... Here's the moment that flipped everything on its head. One of the security guards hired for the Bogotá venue, who hadn't been paid his final invoice, decided to leak a full security report from the day of the show. The report included surveillance, timestamps, gate access records, and, wait for it, a full list of every person who entered the artist's screen room on the day of the event. Guess whose name was on there? Not just J. Not just Leonel Valdez, but a woman listed only as S. Rodriguez. A name that hadn't come up in any public discussion yet. And when fans did some digging, they realized she wasn't just any assistant or staffer. She was once romantically linked to Kendrick years ago, before he got engaged to Whitney. And according to old forum threads and backstage gossip, she always said she'd be back in his life one way or another. But how did she end up in Bogotá? And why now? Her full name is Selena Rodriguez, a music consultant and low-key industry fixer with roots in Miami and Medellin. Back in 2015, she was spotted with Kendrick at an art event in Paris just months before To Pimp a Butterfly dropped, though nothing was ever confirmed publicly. Insiders said they had a creative romance, a term Selena allegedly used herself in conversations with close friends. But the thing is, it didn't end well. A source familiar with that era said she was brilliant, artistic, intense. But Kendrick was focused on his purpose, and Selena, she played by her own rules. She hated structure. She wanted power, not just passion. So when Kendrick moved forward in his relationship with Whitney and founded PG Lang with Dave, Selena disappeared from the picture. Or at least, that's what everyone thought. Turns out, she had been working silently in the background, building her influence in Latin American music scenes, especially in Colombia. She worked with emerging reggaeton artists, consulted for pop tours, and developed close ties to some very powerful event investors in the country. And now her name was tied to the one place Kendrick's team never expected her to be. The green room of his canceled Bogotá show. The leaked security report placed her at the venue for exactly 46 minutes. A fan-run Reddit thread broke the timeline down minute by minute using leaked camera footage and metadata from IG stories posted by crew members. Apparently, during those 46 minutes, the entire venue Wi-Fi was disabled, communication between team members dropped, and someone rerouted the power source for the lighting grid, triggering a tech failure that delayed rehearsals for over an hour. Some believe that's when the real sabotage happened. But what was Selena's role? Was she just there for drama? Was she working with Leonel? Or was she playing her own game outside everyone's radar? A former associate of hers told a Colombian podcast that Selena had always had a grudge, not just toward Kendrick, but toward the whole boys' club of PG Lang. She reportedly felt slighted after being denied a consulting role on the original Mr. Morale tour. They acted like she didn't exist, the source said. But Selena doesn't forget, and she doesn't forgive. But here's the twist. She wasn't just working with promoters. She was part of the insurance team on the Bogotá show. You heard that right, Selena. Rodriguez was listed as a silent advisor for one of the third-party underwriting firms, managing tour risk for South American legs, which means she had eyes on the policy, the terms, the clauses, everything. It's possible she knew that if the show was canceled under security duress, certain parties would walk away with a huge payout. And Kendrick, he'd be none the wiser. It all lined up. The unknown threat, the last-minute access, the failed communication systems, the leaks, the chaos. It was beginning to look less like a logistical disaster and more like a strategic takedown. But Kendrick wasn't just sitting around anymore. Sources say the moment he was handed the security report, the one with Selena's name on it, he shut down all operations. No more meetings. No more rehearsals. The entire team was ordered back to the villa, and Kendrick sat with Dave and two legal advisors from PG Lang for over 4 hours. One witness said, He looked like a general plotting a war plan. The energy shifted. He wasn't angry anymore. He was focused, cold, calculated. Fans noticed something changed too. Kendrick's IG bio went blank. His profile picture disappeared. Within 24 hours, PG Lang's page removed all mention of international tour dates, not just Colombia, but the entire South American leg. Some people took it as a sign he was done with the continent. Others said he was about to launch an investigation of his own. And then, in true Kendrick fashion, silence, no tweets. No videos, no press. Just silence. Until 3 days later, a private audio snippet leaked online. ALLEGEDLY captured during an internal PG Lang debrief. It featured Kendrick's voice, low and composed, saying, "This wasn't a cancellation. This was a setup. And everyone who played a part, we're gonna deal with it, publicly or privately." That one sentence sent shockwaves through the fandom, but it wasn't just the fans reacting. Selena herself popped back up, out of nowhere. She posted a now-deleted Instagram story of herself on a yacht in Cartagena, sipping a drink with the caption, "Sometimes history has to be rewritten, especially when you were erased the first time." Boom. The internet went insane. Was she confirming involvement, trolling, or both? Kendrick's fans were split. Some wanted justice. Some wanted revenge. Others warned that the story was getting way deeper than music. One popular YouTube creator said, "This isn't just about a concert. This is about the danger of the industry when it crosses borders and when old flames turn into firestorms." But in the middle of it all, one person we hadn't heard from finally stepped up. Whitney Kendrick, single quotes as longtime partner. The mother of his children posted a rare and cryptic message on her story. No caption. Just a black screen with white text. "You can't fake love, but you can fake loyalty." That message hit harder than any diss track. Fans started wondering if there were deeper cracks in the foundation. Was she speaking about Selena? Or was she implying that someone inside Kendrick's world was still playing both sides? And that brings us to the boiling point, because just 48 hours after Whitney's post, Kendrick filed an official fraud complaint with local Colombian authorities. His legal team released a statement saying they had evidence suggesting coordinated interference, sabotage, and breach of contract by multiple independent parties and affiliates associated with the Bogotá concert. They weren't naming names yet, but they didn't need to. The message was clear. War had been declared. And then, just when you thought it couldn't get crazier, a video surfaced. Grainy night vision, handheld camera footage showing Selena Rodriguez in a closed-door meeting with Santiago Torres and Lionel Valdez, all three of them in one room discussing something just days before the show. A translator caught part of the conversation. One sentence in particular shook everyone. "We just need him to walk away. That's it. He doesn't even need to know why." And that's when everything came full circle. Because this wasn't about a performance. This was about power, pride, at a game Kendrick didn't even know. It was playing . But here's the real cliffhanger. In the final seconds of that leaked video, Selena glances at the camera like she knew it was being recorded. She smirks and says he always thought he was the author of his own story. Let's rewrite the ending. Those 9 words echoed across fans' circles like a thunderclap. It wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration. Selena Rodriguez wasn't hiding in the shadows anymore. She was calling out Kendrick Lamar directly, making it known that she saw herself not as a saboteur, but as a co-writer in the legacy. He tried to leave her out of . And that's when the internet cracked wide open. Hundreds of fan threads popped up analyzing the power dynamics, calling this the biggest betrayal in hip-hop tour's history. Journalists started comparing it to the infamous Tupac versus Death Row unraveling. Even seasoned entertainment insiders were shook. But behind all the noise, Kendrick stayed silent, unfollowed everyone on Instagram, locked down communication with his team. Even Dave, his manager of over a decade, was reportedly iced out for several days. Kendrick wasn't just thinking about a response, he was reassessing everything. And then he did something that took everyone by surprise. He flew back to Los Angeles, but not alone. Leaked airport footage showed him arriving with a Colombian attorney, a private investigator, and two men in black suits who were later confirmed to be corporate fraud specialists. The message was clear. This wasn't rap beef. This was corporate warfare. And Kendrick was coming for everyone who played a hand in his betrayal. Meanwhile, in Colombia, the fallout was already spreading. Santiago Torres was officially named in a fraud investigation, tied to 3 other canceled concerts, and he's reportedly fled to Panama. The Colombian government launched a formal inquiry into his company's financials, with whispers that major artists from the U.S. had unknowingly signed contracts with shell companies connected to laundering operations. But here's where it gets even darker. Selena vanished. Straight up disappeared. No posts, no interviews, no yacht selfies. Her name was removed from the insurance agency's roster. Her penthouse in Medellin, empty. Her assistant told Colombian reporters that she'd gone off the grid for spiritual healing. But fans weren't buying it. One Twitter user posted, "She played the long game and dipped before the fire started. Boss-level villain moves." And speaking of villains, remember Lionel Valdez? 2 days after the leaked meeting footage surfaced, he was arrested but not for the concert fiasco. He was taken in for unrelated charges tied to cyber fraud and interference with government systems. But guess what? When police searched his phone, they allegedly found multiple encrypted voice notes between him and a woman saved only as S.R. One of those voice notes reportedly said, "Once he cancels, make sure Jay takes the blame. You know how fragile loyalty looks in the spotlight." And just like that, Kendrick wasn't just fighting an insurance setup or a jealous ex. He was fighting an entire operation built on his downfall. The most heartbreaking part: Jay, the crew member he'd once called a brother, was still silent. No statements. No denials. His family in Compton told local outlets they hadn't heard from him in days. One relative said, "He ain't a bad dude. He just got caught up in something way bigger than him, and now he's scared." Meanwhile, Kendrick finally broke his silence in a very Kendrick way. On September 28th, exactly 1 week after the canceled show, PG Long posted a short film titled How to Kill a Ghost. It was 5 minutes of black and white visuals. No dialogue, just symbolic imagery, candles melting, chains falling, a typewriter being smashed, and finally, a hand writing the words, "Not all ghosts haunt you. Some come to take your crown." Fans went wild. Some saw it as a shot at Selena. Others saw it as a broader message about betrayal, control, and reclaiming power. Music blogs broke down every frame, with some theorizing that the ending, a burning PG Long logo, symbolized a rebirth. Not an ending, a new beginning. But then came the final twist. An anonymous user posted a Dropbox link in a private Discord channel for music industry insiders. Inside that folder, full email transcripts, payment logs, and timeline breakdowns showing direct links between Selena, the local promoters, Lionel, and even a third-party lawyer who helped structure the insurance policy on the concert. It was the smoking gun. Multiple contracts showed the same phrase repeated in legal clauses. In case of cancellation due to verified security risks, the beneficiary will receive 87% of total policy amount. And guess who was listed as the beneficiary on the Colombian side? Santiago Torres. So now you've got motive, opportunity, and evidence all laid out like a crime novel. But Kendrick didn't drop names. Instead, in his only written statement to date, he posted a simple message to PG Lang's official site. "We came with love. They came with contracts. They underestimated the spirit that moves through me. But this story isn't over. It's just being edited." And just like that, boom! Silence again. Some insiders are saying